Hey guys, welcome to another Crafts to Go video. So this month in our Crafts to Go for adult kits, we'll be making a fox mask that was inspired from instructions in this book in our collection, Molly Makes Wonderland Friends. I've changed up the instructions a little bit that I think make it more easy, a little bit more straightforward and efficient, so we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, I'll put the link to that book down in the description for this video. So if you want to put it on hold and check it out, you're welcome to. Also, the next step that we'll be making is a soothing lavender eye pillow. That one came from the Etsy blog, and those instructions will be down there as well. So if you came by the library and got a kit, I've kind of simplified those instructions inside the kit, and we'll walk through some of the different stitches here, and I'll show you how to do some of those embroidery stitches. I am a newbie to this, but with some practice, I think my first example came out pretty well, and I know yours will be too. But if you have any questions, leave me a comment down at the bottom, send us a message on social media, Facebook or Instagram, or give us an email at the library, and I'll be sure to help you. So let's get started here. My first step was to cut out all of the templates, so I have those pieces ready. And we're gonna be making the fox eye mask first. So we will need 2 pieces of the orange printed fabric, 2 pieces of the white felt, the bits and pieces of black, white, and pink felt, and then our needle and different threads. But we're gonna start with the upper head, which is this little part. Turn around, and with a pen or pencil, draw the outline on here. So now I've got that trace. I'm gonna keep doing my prep work, which is cutting out my small pieces from the felt. So that those are cut out, I'm going to cut around my orange piece, leaving a good amount all the way around. And this is gonna get trimmed up again later. Okay, and then from there, I'm going to take the second orange piece, pin them together so the right sides are facing. And I pin all the way around. And then now I'm going to start sewing with the white thread and follow this line all the way around, except I'm going to leave the whole top open so I can flip this inside out. So I've got my embroidery needle and thread. So I picked this one because it's a little bit easier for beginners to start off with threading or how to sew, like pushing it through the fabric. I'm definitely a beginner, so this was easier for me. But if you are more experienced, you might want to use a smaller needle. And then I do have the thimble and the little threader inside your kit if you need those. These are pretty thick, so they can, do some damage on your skin. So that's always there for you if you need it. So I'm going to just do a running stitch all the way across, again, leaving that top open, and then we'll see the next step. I also want to point out here that, so I cut a piece of the thread, and I'm going to do a double knot at the end to hold the ends in place when I pull it through. So just 2 little square knots. Try to get them in the same place to make it thicker. There we go. And so that's not gonna go through the fabric. So I've got it stitched up and I left this whole side open. And now I'm going to cut around again and leave about 3/8 of an inch all the way around. And then in the corners, I'm going to do what's called clipping. And that's just adding a few little snips. Don't want to get too close. And that's gonna let the corner come out nicer once I turn it right side out. Okay, so now gonna find that opening, turn it out. So now that I have that turned right side out, I'm gonna first sew on these little ears to the ends. And I actually want to come from the inside. So I think what would have been better is if I did this before I sewed on the orange pieces together, but it's okay. To finish off this stitch here, I'm putting the thread, just pulling it through the back side. This is going to be flush up against the white felt, so it won't be visible at all. And so that way we can tie off our thread and nobody will see these knots in the back. Okay, and I'm gonna snip off the excess. And so now you've got that little fox shape starting to come out. So now I'm going to use a slip stitch, which is a more invisible kind of stitch, and I'm going to sew these two sides shut. Okay, we're gonna start this slip stitch now. Here we go. So you're gonna start from the inside. In that fold, you're gonna come across, pick up a couple of threads in that fold, not too close to the edge or it's just gonna rip off. So a couple of threads there. Then come back straight across in that fold and then over some. And come out. So you'll see when you pull the thread tight, it disappears. Came out pretty good. So I'm gonna work my way through this, and at the end we'll tie it off. So you can iron that up, make it nice and flat, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is going to be to trace this little face onto the white fabric, the felt. I'm using just a regular ballpoint pen for this. Then once this is traced, we will cut out two faces, one from each piece of the white felt. All right, and I want them to match up. So depending on how good of a job I did cutting, they might be a little bit off. So I would just trim wherever it doesn't completely match. Just get that trimmed up along those little bits. So I've got my felt with the little upper face part on top, and with my fabric marker, I drew these little kind of crescent moon shapes here. Just kind of trying to match them evenly. Might have to trim up a little bit here or rework my top part. It's got a little scrunch, but if I iron it, it might flatten out a little bit. So anyways, I'm gonna fiddle with this And then I'm going to embroider this piece here to cover up the marker as my next step. So embroidery. We're gonna start from the back, and I guess I'll show you a back stitch first. So you go in, give a little room, come out a little bit further down the line. I'm trying to stay in the center of this line. You'll probably have an easier time with this than I'm having now, just because I'm trying to keep this on camera. I think that's the hardest part. But at home, where you can kind of take your time, it's not too bad. So now we're gonna come out again through where that last stitch started, so at the bottom of it. And then we're gonna stitch again. I'm trying to keep these fairly even. And come out a little bit further down the line. And then back again. So I'm gonna keep going all the way down. So you can definitely leave your eye shape done there. Maybe you go back and do a little bit of eyelashes there. But what I want to do is come back and do a chain stitch. So I'm going to come up from the back, down through the same hole. And I'm doing this on top of the back stitch that I just did, just to make it thicker. So I'm going to pull through but leave a little bit of a loop, and I'm going to go one stitch length down, just a little bit further down the line, and then I'm going to put my needle through this loop and pull that through. So again, I'm going down into the same place I came up from. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a loop there, go down the line a stitch length, and then when I come up, I'm coming through that loop. And it's gonna start to make a chain all the way down. So I really like how that came out, but I am going back and I'm just adding a few eyelashes in. There's a bunch of great YouTube videos if you guys want to learn some more stitches or see a pro doing this, which might be a good idea. But it's kind of just nice to make something with your hands and just spend an afternoon being creative like this. So I don't mind if mine looks a little bit amateurish. It's still gonna come out super cute. Okay, I'm gonna tie that off again and then repeat this on the other side. All right, so we've got our two head pieces here. And now we're going to put these ribbons in. I'm just gonna put them in the center, kind of where this little fold or little divot is, and then put the other piece right on top. Gonna even them out and then pin them together. And we're actually gonna do this with the orange piece on top. So once I get these where they should be, I'm gonna trim them up one more time. So when I have these how I want them, I'm gonna do a stitch to hold all of the different pieces together. So what I'm gonna do is a blanket stitch, and I'll show you how to do it. The other thing you could do is, go on YouTube if you aren't, don't know how to sew, and then they'll, see if you can find a stitch that you like. So this one is really visible. I think it's a really nice looking stitch. I think it lends it kind of a nice, like, handmade, rustic kind of feel. A little, kind of matches the feel of this little fox mask. But if you don't want them to show, there's stitches out there that can help you. Like I said, I'm a total beginner. This is something I learned from watching YouTube videos, from asking my coworkers who know how to sew, and this is what I learned. So I'll show you how to do it. And then also make sure to match your thread to your type of fabric. I'm gonna start kind of on one cheek and go all the way around to the other cheek, but then I'm using white, and then I'm gonna use pink, and I'm gonna put the piece of felt on top and sew the bottom of that felt piece, and then just keep going all the way around. So the other important thing is to first start between the two pieces of felt and kind of come off a little bit from the edge and pull that through. Okay. And then you want to come around to the back, come through the same spot, and then pull that all the way through until you have a little loop, and then you're gonna come through the loop, kind of like that chain stitch. Okay, what I'm gonna do is also trim this edge so I don't keep getting tangled in it. So, all right, there's my first stitch. I'll show you a couple more. All right, a little close up here. So we're gonna come through the back, over, all the way through, leaving a little loop, then through the loop. Makes that nice little line there. So again, from the back, and we're always gonna come from the back, leave an equal distance, pull through, and then through the loop. Let's do a couple more. Then I'll meet you guys at the end here when we finish our round. Okay, I'm gonna move that pin. So try to keep all of your stitches the same kind of length. Okay, so I finally have my little fox all sewed up the way I like it, and now I'm gonna attach the nose, which is gonna secure the upper face part to the main face part, and that's just gonna be this little piece of black felt that I cut out from the template, and I actually trimmed it up a little bit to make it fit a little better on my mask here, just with the way it turned out. I just wanted it a little bit smaller. So yeah, feel free to customize this template, make it yours, however you want to do that. That's up to you. And I'd love to see pictures if you have them. you can send them over to the Ask a Librarian Desk. And so I'm gonna actually start by coming in between the fabric and coming up so that my knot at the end is tucked away. And I think I'll just do just a simple stitch all the way around. And I'm just gonna go through one side of the fabric, just one piece. I don't want to really see a lot of stuff on the back. So to avoid that, I'll just go through, slip through one piece of the fabric and then come up. So it's a little bit tricky. You just kind of get a feel for it as you go along. Okay, once that nose is on there, we've got our mask done. You definitely have the option of putting a couple little French knots here. I made my eyes super big, so I don't quite have room. And it doesn't really work for me with the embroidery needle on the felt, so I'm gonna leave them off. But again, do your own thing. See what you come up with and make it your own. The next thing we're making here is our lavender eye pillow. And so I've already got my fabric cut out to the template, similar to how we did the orange piece of the fox. And I did a really tight running stitch all the way across. I wanted to make it really small and really even so that the pieces that are going inside of this, the flaxseed and the lavender, don't fall out. And then again, I left an opening so I can flip this inside out and then pour the contents inside. So let's do that. I could have maybe left a bigger opening, but it is what it is. And it still works here, so just something for you guys to learn from my own mistakes. Although it's really not that bad. So I'm gonna make sure the corners get popped out here. So not bad here. I think the seam is nice and tight, the stitch there, and I don't think anything will fall out. So now it's time to fill this little pillow. Got my little baggie of lavender. I'm just gonna cut a corner out so I can pour it in a little easier. So probably good to leave a little bit bigger of a hole. But yeah, so learn from my mistakes. And if you have tips on how to do any of this better, easier, more efficient, or if you found like a nicer looking way to do things, drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. So now that that's filled with the lavender, it's time to pour in the flaxseed. I found flaxseed pretty easily at the local like natural grocery store. You can also use pretty much like a lot of different kinds of seeds and grains. You can use buckwheat, you can use rice. And so I'm gonna get this filled up with a ½ cup of flaxseed. It gives it a nice weight to it, and then we'll go about stitching it up. So that is now totally filled up. Has a nice weight to it, not too heavy to sit on your eyeballs, and smells really good. So now again, similar to what we did with that box mask, we're going to do a slip stitch on here. So here, I learned from my previous mistake with the mask, and I left myself a little bit more room for this fold so I can really get in there. And again, I'm gonna start inside of the fold so that my knot at the end of my thread is not visible. It'd be nice if I had put a thread or a knot in my thread, so I'm gonna do that real quick. So that's in there. Then you're gonna go directly across, take just a couple of the threads on that side, not too close to the edge. Go back straight across and then over a little bit, and we'll repeat that all the way down the line. So straight across, take a few little threads, straight across into that fold, travel down, across again, take a few threads, straight across, travel down. Okay, so if you're getting the hang of it, and it should be pulling closed nicely with an invisible seam there. And then I'm going to finish off my stitch here. Pull it. You can pull it nice and tight. Alright, that looks pretty good. So you pro sewers, stitchers, you probably have a lot neater of a pillow here, but yeah, this works. So thanks for watching our video. I hope you learned something new today, or if you already knew how to sew, maybe you got some new ideas. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there are links down below to the book that I got this idea from, and the link to the iPillow instructions on the Etsy blog. I hope that if you're local, you'll come by and get your Crafts to Go kit if you're 18 or older. Otherwise, we'll see you next month for another Crafts to Go video, and now it's time to go and get some relaxation.